This week, On the Couch was filmed at the beautiful new recently refurbished presidential suite at the Four Seasons Hotel, Westcliff, Johannesburg.
My guest today is a man who certainly doesn't eat millipap. Well-built, strong, well-dressed. It's really a pleasure to have you here.
It's good to be here, thank you. In fact, my mother told me this is a serious show. When you're on Mr. Shapiro's show, you better wear a good shirt. So this is my good shirt. I hope you like it.
I have to ask you one thing.
Yes, sir.
When I said I was going to interview DJ Fresh,
Yeah.
everybody seemed to know you. They weren't quite sure what you did, whether you were still on the morning show, whether you were on the evening. But
Yes.
you've built a brand around you that just carries so far. How did this all happen? What do you do to keep that brand going?
I always tell people that, especially in our industry, that, unlike a Coca-Cola or any other brand that sits here and then management is here, when you are the brand, you have to make sure that you sustain yourself as that brand. You have to make sure that people can relate to the brand, that you're tangible. And being tangible is not just that people can touch, see, and feel you, that people know that you're accessible, that if you send an email, chances are they'll get a response. So I think little things like that build your brand and sustain it. So
Do you manage it yourself?
I do everything myself.
You haven't got a whole lot of people behind the scenes there sending out signed photographs of...
Honestly,
they don't do that anymore,
honestly,
don't they? They email it.
They email it, but it would be easier to have a team managing certain aspects of your brand, as it were. But I believe people are tweeting me, so they expect me to respond. So I'm very particular about that. My office offered, should we handle your social media? I was like, as you said, it's my social media. I need to interact with my people.
You need to reply
Yes.
the way that you would. People will pick up if you're not doing. I get a lot of tweets from President Obama.
Yes.
And I promise you he's not sending them
Oh, he's
out.
tweeting you too. I was feeling special. Barack, come on, man.
You fitted in so easily to the morning show. People were lamenting the fact that Gareth Cliff had moved on.
Yes,
and
sir.
yet, that's all gone.
You know what? I think people are afraid of change more than anything else, especially with media, with radio. Radio becomes your companion. That voice that you hear every morning becomes part of who you are. So, for instance, I traveled to Miami the other day to do a conference, and I got an email from a lady saying, "Thanks, you ruined 5 of my mornings because I'm used to my coffee, dropping my kids at school, listening to 15 minutes of you, and then getting into the office." So for 5 days, this person didn't have that. So I can understand why people would be upset that Gareth left.
So what were you doing in Miami?
There for a music conference, and I also played at Ultra Miami. So
You played?
yeah.
DJ?
Yes, sir.
I can ask you about that because I've never quite understood what a DJ does. Because, I'm from the 60s and
Yes,
there a
sir.
DJ used to choose, do we put a Beatles song, a Rolling Stones song, or something like that?
So basically, if I was to put it into 60s language, we are the jukebox minus the coin.
So you just play. But you mix songs.
Yeah, you mix songs, you try and create an atmosphere, take people through a journey. It's not just slapping on record after record. It's not as simplistic as that. And I think, people that take the craft seriously and treat it as a business, you can see with the 30, 40 years they've been doing this.
And where did the interest in music start?
I think when I was a kid.
You were brought up in Botswana, or you were born in Botswana?
Yeah, born, raised in Botswana. From about age 8, 9, I started taking an interest in collecting music.
Okay.
And
What kind of music?
I was listening to everything.
Everything,
So luckily, I went to an international primary school.
Okay.
So I was exposed to kids from 40, 50 countries. So I listened to everything. I listened to pop, I listened to Township Bubblegum, I listened to rock. I mean, my uncle raised me on Judas Priest and AC/DC. So I literally...
I still listen to AC/DC.
Exactly. So I listened to pretty much everything. So I collected everything. So by the time I started DJing age 13 in my high school, I was literally playing everything. So you'd go from a George Michael track to a Brenda Fassie track. And, because you're dealing with kids who are open-minded and were not necessarily raised to listen to black music or so-called white music.
And what do you play on 5FM?
We are a top 40 contemporary hit radio station.
Where do you take the top 40 from?
The top 40 is pretty much based on record sales, demand, a bit of gut feel about, these are the tracks people are loving right now.
I must tell you something, because I just want to digress for a bit.
Yes, sir.
Just come back from New York,
Yeah.
and I listened to 101.3, and I can't remember the chap's name who runs it there. He's great. He's got Scottish blood in him, etc. But they play 5 songs the whole hour.
Yeah.
They play them again, play them again. In fact, the whole time they just plug 4 or 5 songs, that's all.
Yeah.
And eventually my wife got mad. She just, we were hearing, 7 years,
Yes.
My House, I can even name them here, etc. My granddaughter listened to them. But I mean, it can drive you mad, but they push and push.
In fact, people complain about how much we repeat music here. Until you listen to an American top 40 radio station, you don't know anything about repetition. I mean, they literally rotate, I think, 90 songs the whole week. That's all they're rotating on top 40 radio in the US. So I think we still have it good.
On your show, you get in fact, we were discussing it before we started this interview.
Yes, sir.
You get the feel of the youth. You can hear their voices.
Yes, sir.
What's their vision of South Africa at the moment? How do they feel? What do they want in this country? This is not a political question.
Yes.
Trying to understand, where they're heading, what they're looking for.
You know what I think it is? And I'm not speaking on behalf of South African youth. I think generally young people are sick and tired of not being taken seriously. Young people are sick and tired of, why do you think you know what I want? You haven't asked me what I want. Young people are sick and tired of being spoken at. I mean, I remember when the Fees Must Fall initiative kicked off, when the whole campaign started. A lot of politicians felt like there must be a third force that's stoking this fire. But when 15, 14-year-olds in Soweto, June 16, were up in arms saying no to Afrikaans, there was no third force then. So why is it that in the 70s, a 16-year-old can think about what they don't want, but in 2016, there must be a third force when people in the 20s are saying, we don't want this.
Do you think it's a repetition of that period without the political angle to it?
Not necessarily a repetition.
Or the 60s, more or less, when you were starting to get, I remember Cat Stevens' song,
Yes.
what's it, Father and Son?
Sure.
Which is, you don't listen to me, Father wants him to be like him.
I think what it is young people taking their rightful place in society. Because more often than not, drastic change or revolution is spearheaded by young people. And a lot of it, it might be a blessing and a curse, is that at that age, you're still naive. So you're willing to actually say what exactly you're feeling. Your filters are not as practiced as when you're much older. I look at my kids. I've got kids 13, 6, and a year old. And I look at how fearless they are in what they do. And a lot of it has to do with, I'm a kid, I'm naive, therefore I'll think it and I'll do it without necessarily looking at what the consequences may be. And I think that's the only way any revolution happens. When you say, I don't like this, it might be knee-jerk, the consequences might be dire, further up the line, but this is what I think I need to say.
I think that's a role of parents, is to allow them that freedom, but just to guide them so that they don't really fall off the edge. In other words, just put a border around the balcony.
But that, I think, is part of the problem, though, that we don't know when to allow them to jump off the balcony.
So, I understand.
You know what I mean? That we want to parent you right up until you're married. And, maybe that's why, kids at university are sick and tired of waiting for the adults to do something, waiting and waiting and waiting. Eventually they realize that, listen, if we don't do it, it's not going to happen.
And the demographics of your show, is it very widespread?
It's literally from age 6 to 66. I'll tell you literally what happened the other week. I got an email from a gentleman in Stellenbosch, and he says, listen, I'm a white male in my 50s. I'm not 5FM's target audience, but you guys speak about things that affect me at a human level. And on that exact same day, I get a tweet from a fella says, I'm in the car with my 7-year-old daughter. And she says she doesn't want to listen to SAFM. Where's DJ Fresh? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, that child is not our target audience. That 56-year-old man is not our target audience. But I figure if you're young at heart, the show will appeal to you.
It must be the message you're giving out there. What What time do you wake up? You've got kids at school.
Yes.
You never take them to school.
I miss taking them to school, but I get to pick them up.
Okay.
And I think that's the beauty of working early morning. So I wake up at 3 to be at work at 4. I'm on the radio at 5. I knock off at 8. I'm at gym at 9 until 10. Then I go home. Then I do interviews like this and other stuff that I might need to do. Then at 2 p.m. I pick up the kids.
You're up at 3.
I have to be up at 3. So you're catching me right now, having been awake for quite a while. I wake up at 3, but I still spend more time with my kids than my parents did with me, because they were both 9-to-5ers. So in the bigger scheme of things, when your parents are working 9 to 5, and both of them are working 9 to 5, you hardly actually see your parents. So I think the beauty of working my hours, and the fact that my wife decided that, I'm taking time off radio to actually raise the kids, you see the value that adds to your kids' lives. The fact that you can pick them up from school. I can attend sports days. My daughter does ballet, she's 7. But the fact that I'm in the crowd, just me and all the other mothers, it means a heck of a lot to her. So for me, it's the little things that I'm doing that I feel my parents couldn't do, but I appreciate why they couldn't do them. They were working hard to send me to the best schools and make sure that, I have a solid footing before I got into the big bad world.
And your show, I mean, do you have a production team? You sit down at 4 o'clock and you say, do you take a theme that you're going to push there, or does it just work itself?
The way we work, we have a calendar for the week. So this is what's happening this week, locally, globally. If it's a global story, how do we localize it so that people can relate to that story? And then the night before we go to sleep, we share other ideas. So it's myself and the 2 producers. And then in the morning, we meet before the show goes out and decide, okay, this is what's happening in the world. What are we working with? So we try and condense everything into what will work for the show for that day. And so we do that every single day. And, our attitude is we don't meet before the show to prep. The lives we lead are prep. Doing this interview, something could happen here. Like, how lazy are you that you're not going to walk up one flight of steps because the lift doesn't work? So I think everyday life is prep for a radio show. You don't have to go to the internet to look for prep. Just live your life and your radio show will happen.
But I'm really pleased that you came here.
Thank you.
After gym. You look in great shape. I can't believe you're
I'm not where I need to be yet. I'm not where I need to be yet.
I just want to know, 4 o'clock in the morning, you drink coffee? How do you?
I actually don't drink coffee at all. So I wake up in the morning.
Pep yourself up?
I have good old oats.
Oats, yeah.
Yeah, I've had oats all my life, and I still swear by it.
Steel cut oats? That's my breakfast.
Flip, I don't know. What cut is the jungle one? I don't know.
Jungle oats.
Anyway, so so I have, because of my gym schedule, I have to stick to a certain eating plan. So it's like oats at 4 in the morning, eggs at 6, protein shake at 8, and just...
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Lots of steak?
Not a lot of steak, but a lot of protein still. So yeah.
Anyway, to me, you look in good shape.
Thank you very much.
It's really been wonderful. You're a legend. I think your brand is so well respected.
Thank you so much.
And we just hope you can keep going for a long time and look after your kids.
I've only just begun.
You've been on the couch with me, David Shapiro, and DJ Fresh.